Hello, and welcome back to the Lunch Pail Labs channel. Today, wanted to share some highlights from a new series that we've launched where we talk to some of the most forward-thinking individuals and teams about their approaches to integrations. And today, I'm excited to share some key takeaways from a recent interview with Matthew, who is a co-founder of Whalesync, which is a no-code tool that enables two-way data sync across popular apps. So throughout our conversation, Matthew shared really interesting insights about Whalesync's integration strategy, their process of building new integrations, and how they support their customers in implementing them. So wanted to dive into the highlights, and for the full deep dive, full write-up, if you're interested, feel free to check it out on the blog. The link will be in the description. So highlight/point number one. The more apps they integrate with, the more functionality they offer, and the more problems they can solve for their users. Matthew talked about how integrations really play a pivotal role in Whalesync's overall business strategy, which makes a ton of sense for their product. They're a no-code tool that enables two-way data sync. So the more apps they integrate with, the more potential customers they can have, the more functionality they offer, and the more helpful that their tool is. And it's a really clear reminder that well-executed integrations can significantly impact your product's value proposition. And I think a neat insight that other software companies can learn from, that your customers, they have a whole life day-to-day using a ton of different tools outside of your product. And the more that you can connect the pieces of their day with your software to make it easier, to make it more seamless, the more that they'll value your product in that equation. And the research really jives here. A Profit Wall study, which I'll link, found that having just one integration can boost customer retention by 15% and increase customer willingness to pay by 30%. So it is actually rewarded when you're able to solve more problems for your users through integrations, through connecting different tools for them. Next major highlight, at least for me, was around prioritizing integrations for Whalesync. One of the criteria that they look at is whether they're able to offer a superior experience to existing solutions. So another thing that Matthew and I really talked about was prioritization. Because prioritization, integrations, building them, maintaining them, they take resources, they take time, they take money. And so when you are building them, especially when we're talking about more deep integrations where you're really integrating functionality, maybe not just passing data back and forth, you want it to meet your quality standards, and they require a time investment. So you want to make sure that you are prioritizing activities, integration activities that are likely to yield the most benefit. And for them, they have 3 criteria. The first 2, I think, make a lot of sense, and for most prioritization methods, you'd probably consider user demand and strategic alignment to what they offer. But the last one I thought was a very poignant point, having the potential to offer a superior experience compared to existing solutions. And it's something that makes a ton of sense, and I feel like is so well articulated, especially when you think about integrations where you want to integrate with a platform because you want to acquire that platform's customers to your tool. Something that I'll also look at when I work with companies is, what is the existing solution set? What options do these platforms users have currently to solve the problem that our integration would solve? And is the solution that we're proposing that much better? And it was cool to see that Whalesync kind of thinks of things similarly. I think really for anyone who's focused on growing their integration library, integration strategies, yes, there's this sometimes focus on at least getting parity to competitors and having the same integrations, which can take time, but also really focusing that effort on where are you being a solution on this platform, or you being the connection between these tools is going to provide a benefit that's not really being served. Highlight number 3 on team collaboration and how they ship integrations, starting with MVPs and iterating. So we did dive a little bit in how Whalesync approaches building integrations. Matthew shared that for them, a small dedicated team would lead the development process for integrations. It's usually not the full-time responsibility for anyone. It's like a part-time activity, but their goal is just to build the minimum viable product version quickly, focusing on the essential features of the integrations, and then go from there. And I think that's another thing that is not always looked at. And I love that he used the language of MVP and minimum viable product, just because I also believe that integrations are also products. I think sometimes they can have this rap of just being like back-end doohickeys or just like the engineering little implementation tools. But I think there is a real potential for companies to differentiate with the tools and integrations that that their customers are using to build and use their apps and their workflows and other applications that they're building. And just like an MVP, integration projects are ongoing projects. It's not just ship a connector or an integration and you're done. It's this continuous sort of refining and iterating based on customer feedback on what else you should add. And I think that's also really, really great point. And so that's a wrap on this little speed 3 highlights of my interview with Matthew from Whalesync. So if you found this interesting, I absolutely suggest checking out the full interview, which has the link in the description. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.